Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I am here with the Spring Cleaning book tag. This tag was created by Book Syrup, and I will link her original video down below. I was tagged by the fabulous Miriam from Between Lines in Life, and I will also link her channel down below. Question number 1 is the struggle of getting started. A book or book series that you have struggled to begin because of its size. And once again, for this kind of question, I am going with my copy of Les Mis by Victor Hugo. This is a classic that I really want to get to at some point. I have actually started reading it, I think 2 or 3 times, and I have not made very much progress at all because it's really well written, but it's so dense, there's so much description, and it's not something you can just like fly through. So someday I'll actually finish this beast of a book. Question number 2 is cleaning out the closet, a book and or book series you want to unhaul. So I actually just did a massive unhaul of a ton of books that I have decided to get rid of. I will link that down below in case you missed it. So I actually don't have an answer for this one because all of the books that I wanted to unhaul, I have actually unhauled them. Question number 3 is opening windows and letting fresh air in, a book that was refreshing. I'm going with Sunshine by Robin McKinley. This is a very odd kind of urban fantasy / post-apocalyptic kind of book. And there's vampires and other kind of magical creatures, and there's also a big baking element, which was great. I really enjoyed that. And it's very character focused. I can see why some people wouldn't enjoy it. It's a very kind of polarizing book, I think, but I happen to really love the main characters, and especially the relationship between the 2 main characters. I wouldn't call this a love story. It's really not one, but it is a story that has love in it. I don't know. As you can tell, it's a very difficult book to explain. I just found it so refreshing because it's different from so many of the other fantasy books I have read, or like the supernatural creature focused books I have read, and especially from other vampire novels that I have personally experienced, and I just really enjoyed this. Question number 4 is washing out sheet stains, a book you wish you could rewrite a certain scene in. So I'm going to go with one from Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. And this is kind of going to get into spoiler territory, I guess, but it is something that I personally would have liked to know before reading it. I probably wouldn't have picked the book up if I knew about this, so I guess keep that in mind too. So in the book, one of the characters is a woman who is married and she does not want to have children. Her husband is really set on having kids, and she is very adamant about the fact that she does not want to have them. And then she sort of gives in to him, and which is problematic in itself. And she gets pregnant, and she's not happy about it. She complains a lot, and even though some of it is good-humored, it feels like she really doesn't want to have kids still. And then she loses the baby, and it's really sad. She has a miscarriage, and it is upsetting for her. But then, the thing I have such a problem with is that the way that her part of the story is told makes it sound like every woman secretly wants to have children, and they just don't know it until they're pregnant. And that just really pissed me off. I think there are so many ways that you can show a character changing their mind about things, even really important things like that. I have read books that did that believably, and this one just didn't, and it just made me so upset because I didn't like the implications, and I would like to rewrite that entire like chunk of the book. I just thought that was so insulting, and that was just playing into this idea that all women have to love babies. And I can't even imagine how upsetting that part would be if somebody was reading it who had experienced a miscarriage or something like that. Question number 5 is throwing out unnecessary knickknacks, a book in a series that you didn't feel was necessary. My answer for this one is Princess of the Silver Wood by Jessica Day George. This is the 3rd book in her kind of companion trilogy that starts with Princess of the Midnight Ball. And I did really like that first book. I think it was around 3.5 or 4 stars. It was a pretty good fairy tale retelling, but the second book I absolutely loved, so I was really excited to get to the 3rd one. And I hated the 3rd one. I just, like the question says, I just felt it was completely unnecessary. I didn't think it added anything to the overarching plot. I felt like a lot of it was really predictable. I didn't think the characters were handled very well. Just everything about that book, I was like, didn't need this. Number 6 is Polishing the Doorknobs, a book that had a clean finish. And for that question, I am going with Of Beast and Beauty by Stacey J. I have mentioned this book, I think, briefly before. This is a science fiction Beauty and the Beast retelling or inspired story, and I do really love the way this book ends. It is a clean finish. It feels like everything that you would have wondered about is wrapped up in some way, but the ending also feels earned. Like, it doesn't feel like we go right from the climax or like a bunch of action in the book to happily ever after and the end. You know, it feels, like I said, very earned, and I just really think that the ending of this book is really powerful and emotional, and it feels appropriate to the rest of the story. There are definitely high stakes, but I do think that the ending is something that you will be glad is there. That was a very odd way to phrase it. Number 7, Reaching to Dust the Fan, a book that tried too hard to relay a certain message. And that is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I hated this book so much. It's one of my least favorite novels I've ever read. This book I just feel is the definition of trying too hard. Just over and over, the author beats you over the head with the fact that, hey, people can do bad things. There are bad people in the world. Boys are awful. Like, just stuff like that over and over. And it got so frustrating and repetitive. Like, I understand that the author wrote it as commentary on a very particular kind of, like, privileged, I think it was like a secondary school or something, like upper class kind of child, especially boys, and how they carry that background and that privilege and how that can lead to, like, a really terrible things, like the events that take place in the book. So I understand the reason he wrote the novel, but I just don't think it was executed well. There is just no subtlety. I don't feel like the writing is that good. The characters were just kind of placeholders for these ideas and concepts that the author wanted to discuss at length in the same way. It is held up as like this paragon of literature, and I just feel like it's overrated. Number 8 is The Tiring Yet Satisfying Finish of Spring Cleaning, a book series that was tiring yet satisfying to get through. And I'm going with the Leviathan trilogy by Scott Westerfeld. This is a kind of like steampunk historical fiction alternate history sort of thing that takes place during World War I. And I did really enjoy the trilogy, and I think the world building in particular and some of the characters are just so good, but it's definitely the kind of series where you will forget things in between books because there are so many intricacies of the plot, both based on real life history and also just things that Scott Westerfeld came up with for his own world. So I actually do want to reread this series at some point because, like I said, I remember liking it, but I think I would have found the conclusion even more satisfying if I had the other books fresh in my mind. And finally, number 9 is Looking Forward to Next Spring. Tag 4 people you want to do this tag. And I'm going to tag Michaela from My Bookself, Lori from Lori Dawson, Ashley from Ashley Stormo, and Bree from Bree Reads Books. If you guys would like to do this tag, I am officially tagging you. I think it was really fun and had a great mix of positive and negative questions. And I also tag everyone else who sees this video and who wants to do it. That is everything I have for this video. I will see you guys soon with another one, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!